Hello, everyone. Good morning. It is October 9th, 2022, and I am Laurie Barraco. And I will give everyone a moment or two to receive the notification that I'm live. And so when you see me and you're on, please let me know that you're watching and tuning in live, and share where you're watching from. I'd love to hear where people are at. So I am at the Fort Myers Mystical Moon, in my room here in my office here, and I did want to take a moment and just kind of like recap and reflect upon this last week here in Southwest Florida. Oh my gosh! And I see people tuning in. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Okay, I see we're receiving the notification. Whew. So, for some people, if you're watching on Facebook, if you didn't fill out the little StreamYard thing, it may not give me your name. It just says Facebook user. So, good morning. If you could just let me know your name and where you're watching from. Good morning, Anne. Thank you. She says sending much love from Northeastern Ohio to Southwest Florida. I gotta get my water. Hold on here. Sorry. Close up. There's a close up. Yeah, grab my water. Good morning, everyone. So, before we get started, I'd like to just take a moment and to set the space for all of us and kind of tuning in and connecting with all of us here. So, let's all just take a moment to center ourselves on this Sunday morning. And if you're watching afterwards, wherever you are, whenever it is, just take a moment to bring your attention and your awareness to your center, to your heart chakra, connecting and in the moment, grounding yourself in your body, and also at the same time connected to your divine self. Pausing and reflecting upon your breathing, filling the lungs, taking a moment to reflect upon maybe the last couple of weeks, where you've been, where you're at, where you would like to be moving towards. Taking a moment to bring in gratitude for the blessings that you have received and the blessings that are about to come forth in your life, that are about to align with you and your destiny. Taking a moment to also reflect upon maybe some of the challenges and the disappointments, maybe for yourself on a personal level, maybe for others who have been challenged and devastated with the worst case scenarios. And taking a moment to reflect upon yourself and others, sending light, miracles, compassion, and empathy, and patience and understanding. For there are many different triggers and thresholds with these triggers of what may be devastating for one, may not be that big of a deal to others. Not judging people's experiences, having empathy and love, and at the same time also healthy boundaries, honoring people's paths, not interrupting their journeys, extending love and hope and a hand, and maybe some physical items as well, doing what you can, sharing what you can. And this message came through the other night during my crystal ball meditation in Bonita. And for the month of October, I was guided by Spirit to share, to donate my earnings from my crystal ball meditations from October, and find different outlets to share: food pantries, shelters, whatever items, whatever people need, giving back. Also lending my heart and my shoulder, and lending an ear to those who were challenged. May you all continue to honor where you're at, holding space for others, doing what you can, sending love and healing to all people who have been affected in all ways, in all places. And so it is. All right. So good morning. I'm going to check in with the comments. So good to see you. Oh, thank you. You've prayed for so many. Yes, there's so many prayers that have been going up and out and up. Thank goodness. And Thank you from Las Vegas, sending prayers to Las Vegas, right? So there are challenges all over the planet, all over, and as I mentioned, that there are different thresholds for what people can manage, and it's like sometimes it's like I can't just take one more thing, and I know I'm going to lose my shit, right? So there are different thresholds for everyone. Mm. And Angela says it's a great crisp morning in northern Michigan. I have some family that's visiting in Michigan this past week. My niece and her family, and my great niece and my other niece. Good morning. Thank you. Long Island loves me. Stay strong. This too shall pass. I miss Long Island. I grew up. I don't know if you know. I grew up on Long Island, more of the Queens Nassau area. Thank you. And my intention is to get back up there within the next year to visit. Good morning, everyone. Holding space and always in many ways for many people. And yes, it's been a challenging time. And so things, we get through some of the shock, and so then we pick up and we take our time with moving and going and doing what's necessary. And some of the messages from Spirit has been to do what you can, but not overextend yourself where you're depleted, right? We can all only do so much. There are so many different causes and charities and GoFundMe's and all these ways to help support other people. We can only do so much, and do what's within your comfort zone. That's important too, right? So sending my love and my intentions and my prayers to all those who have been challenged, and to be in the moment in the space of gratitude for what is going well, right? If you've lost power, then you're so grateful for power. If you weren't able to connect with a loved one, to let them know that you're safe, or that they're safe, to find out if they're safe, there's that gratitude in that small little thing that we took for granted. Good morning, Barb. Oh, it's 52 in Ohio. Oh, that's nice. That's a nice little crisp breeze. And I was grateful for when we didn't have power, that it wasn't too hot down here in Florida. With Irma, it was hot, but it was a little bit cooler here with Ann. So moving forward, so sending my love and my light and prayers, and I still am nightly at 8 p.m. sending healing prayers. It's like my but it is my long distance Reiki healing altar. Every night at 8 p.m. I send healing prayers. I'll send them up and out to all those who need love and light and support and miracles and strength and so on and so forth. And so I do that every night in the ethers. All right, so today, October 9th, is a full moon at 4:54. I wrote it down to make sure. I don't know. My memory's kind of going a little bit these days. There's a lot going on, right? And sometimes our memory's a little bit more crisper than others. But yes, 4:54 Eastern Standard Time. Today we have the full moon. It's the Hunter's moon, the full moon in Libra. So lots of full moon, Aries with Libras in oh my gosh. See, I just flipped it. So the full moon in Aries. So there's a lot of energy that's going on too, right? So full moons are always a time of heightened intuition, heightened emotions, and there's always a cosmic theme. And so I'm going to go over some of the details with that, and then we'll pull some cards, and then I'm going to hop on out front here at the Fort Myers store with Amy, and we're going to run that front desk like bosses, like badasses. And so it has been really good to see people email, call, stop in to connect and let us know how they're doing. And although I will say this one thing. So I am on Facebook. So I didn't have electric internet for a while, for quite a few days. And it was helpful not to be on social media for too long, because of the emotion and the feeling of the devastation that you just keep cycling. It's a lot, and I know it's a lot for people who are going through that, right? But to continue to watch the news and to see all these feeds of all this devastation, like, limit your time with that. And that was really helpful for me, because then I could feel myself being pulled into this spiral where I knew that it wasn't a healthy place to be empathetic, to be loving, to be supportive, but to not allow yourself to be oversaturated with all that's going on, right? So, and as a general rule, to limit that type of exposure. See more comments. Good morning, Tracy from Kentucky, Somerset, Kentucky. Good morning. And someone commented that they love that 8 p.m. Reiki ritual. I will join you in that forward. And looking forward to making moon water tonight for the full moon. So I'm going to talk a little bit about this full moon in Aries. So we are in Libra season, and Libra is the astrological sign of balance and relationships and finding that flow within that. And so so this is the time of the year where I will back this up a little bit. I know a lot of times we focus on relationship in February, but in Libra season, it's the two. It's balance, relationship with others, relationship with self, relationship with your finances, your career, and kind of taking a look at that. So I call this relationship season. And so my question is, how has this season been treating you? For a lot of people, it brings a lot of attention to all those relationships across the board. As I mentioned, family, friends, romantic, coworkers, and the most crucial relationship is the one with self. And so there are a lot of trends that I see popping up, right? So we just are off the heels of Mercury retrograde, where there's that revisiting and the revamping of things, right? Relationships, your finances, your past, healing, your karma, and all of that, right? So with this being Libra, with us being in the sun sign of Libra, we add in the fiery influences of Aries, and then sometimes we can have some tempers that flare up if you add that full moon in there as well, right? And then the misunderstandings and the hurt feelings, just kind of like we have some explosive experiences. But the blessings of Aries power is that it brings what may be lingering under the surface to the surface to be addressed. So it's like you wait, you take it, you sit on it, you let it kind of build up and fester within you. And then Aries is like, get it out. I can't take it anymore. And so, as my grandma used to say, better out than in. And it's always best to be clear, be honest. And we can do so with tact and grace and love by blending some of Libra's diplomatic outlook. So that's how we're going to temper this energy. Libra is very diplomatic. They're able to see both sides of a situation. They try to look at the sunny side. They try to play the devil's advocate, and they try to bring some love, and they try to soften the fiery edges of Aries at times, because Aries can come in like that bull and like gangbusters and just mow over people's feelings. That's the challenging aspect of that. Where the challenging aspect of Libra may say, oh, well, they didn't mean it. And then after the 100th time, no, they kind of meant it. And then Aries is like, enough is enough. I've got to do something, right? So that's where we can find a nice, happy in between balance, meet the middle grounds, right? So this is also known as the Hunter's Moon, and the Hunter's Moon encourages us to think about the future, to map out what we need to sustain us through the difficult times, and then begin to stockpile these supplies to support us in the future. So it's known as the Hunter's Moon because that's when the hunters would start preparing for the cold winters. What do we need? Do we need extra food? Do we need hide? What do we need? Do we need leathers? Do we need food, wood, supplies, medicines, plants? What do we need to sustain us through those cold winters, right? So that's also that other influence that we have right now. So we're given soul growth opportunities through our relationships, and we have a plethora of teachers throughout our lives. And we can see these relationship challenges and blessings as steps to becoming wiser, stronger, kinder, and more loving entities or soul beings. We can agree that some relationships are easier on the heart than others, yet they are all purposeful. All relationships are purposeful. Yeah. So I just want to pause a moment and wait for some of you all to maybe share some relationship things that have been popping up, anything that's kind of emerging or popping up for you within your relationships, or seeing a different perspective, or feeling that push or that pull towards changing your view or creating boundaries. Which area have you all been finding that, okay, this needs more balance in my life? This type of relationship needs more balance in my life. And so I'll give you all a moment to comment, and I know there's a delay. So what areas have you found that are being highlighted for you? And so I see Melissa says not being valued. That's one that is definitely one that Aries is going to get behind you and say, enough, right? What the heck? Don't they know how wonderful you are, and all the things you've done, and so on and so forth. So that's a big one, not being valued, right? So that's coming up for you. And Angela says, I find myself being ready to walk away from new relationships with some people and really bonding with others, and sometimes in the same location. For example, just yesterday, I burned a bridge with one person and her friend, and I created a close relationship with. So I'm definitely ready to sever ties with people that I don't feel have the right energy for me, right? And we can do so, hopefully, with tact and grace and integrity and honesty. We cannot be completely invested in how people receive or perceive our intentions and actions, right? So we can do so. It's like, here's my warning. I want to communicate this. And some people already have stories in their heads, and that's the lens, how they view us, right? So that's an important thing for us too, right? So some relationships are we're bonding more closely, like this is my soul tribe, and in this area, this is not quite my soul tribe. This situation is not supporting my soul. These aren't my people at this time, right? So I'm going to share some suggestions, and I'll go back and read some of the comments. So here's 6 different ways that can help you during this time. So try not to take everything personally. Not everything that is being said and done is meant to be projected towards you. Sometimes those triggers come up and we automatically get triggered. And sadly and thankfully, it's not all about us. So sometimes it's not us. They're not referring to us, right? But yet we may be defensive, and maybe there's some, healing, inner child healing that needs to come up for us, and some shadow work. Right. So being honest with ourselves, like, could this be me? Maybe, right? Am I the negativity? Am I the toxic one? Maybe I am, and maybe I'm not, right? So just remember that. So it's not always about us. If you're feeling extra sensitive, stay off social media and channel your inner hermit. Sometimes stepping away from the outside world helps us to discern what is ours and what isn't, right? So just as I mentioned earlier about spending a certain amount of time, limiting my time with the news or with social media. I know some people say I don't watch the news. I do keep a finger pulse on what's going on in the outside world, and I use my own discernment, right? So I don't click all day long and sit in front of media outlets. But it's good to try to check in every once in a while and see what's going on. And I'm not making an excuse, but with the mystical moon, the business, my clients, that is a way for me to connect, and for people to connect with us. So there is that element to things. I'm just going to pop in here quick. I'm going to read some of the comments and then I'll move on. So someone, Facebook user, my friend here, says, I'm Aries moon, really feeling the transformation relationship wise, desire to burn up the old stagnant energy and push forward, leaning into it. Very nice. Use this fuel, this fire to ignite the passions within you. And yes, sometimes severing those ties, those cords they need to be cauterized. And sealed with love and finality, right? To be done. And Barb says, work still taking front and center. It has to shift to a lower level and bring relationship with myself and husband. Yes. And Angela says, I'm full Capricorn and need to work on my exit approach. I'm done, right? And Barb, what full moon crystals should I place on my altar, especially with Libra and Aries, other herbs? Thank you. So I would encourage you to always, with the moons, always work with selenite and moonstone. So with Libra, okay, I'm going to say there are crystals that people say should work during this time. But this is what I'm getting right now, to work with throat chakra crystals, communication. So blues like sodalite, angelite, turquoise, right? Work with those blues. Blue calcite, celestite, work with the blues to help you with your communication skills, right? Communication skills are not just speaking, they're also listening. So that's still kind of in this area, right? The ears are also third eye too, but they're kind of in between. So we're going to go with, that's what I'm hearing, more of the throat chakra crystals, blues, work with blues. And I am hearing the yellow, so blues and yellows. So with the solar plexus for the Aries energy, for the tempering of the will, for tempering of your projected energy, so you don't blow your solar plexus out and blow others, like from shrapnel from your blown out solar plexus, right? The casualties. So work with the blues and the yellows to empower, to temper that empowerment and that solar plexus with your will, and to help you with tact and grace and class. Okay. And so some of those herbs, so if you I'm listening. So if you have yarrow, I'm hearing yarrow would be a good one. I am hearing eucalyptus to cool your jets a little, right? To help with cooling things a little bit. Let me see what else is kind of coming through. Interesting. I'm also hearing geranium and geranium. Okay. So I hope that helps a little. If you don't have those herbs, you can call in with your hand and ask spirit to place in your hand the consciousness of those herbs or crystals. Okay. All right. And I see Sue. Hi, Sue. Hi from Florida. And someone says, narrow those cords, baby. And someone else said, after Anne, everything feels fragile, like on eggshells, ready to crack. Absolutely. That's where the compassion and empathy and trying to be mindful of your triggers and be quick to say, I'm sorry, right? I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry I exploded. I'm so sorry that I wasn't listening to you. I'm so sorry you're going through that, right? So quick apologies is a good thing at this time. And yes, there's a lot of fragility that is taking place right now. So let me move on to the next one. The next one is, oh yeah, here we go. The interesting thing too is that these notes I have from 2019, still relevant. And some of this I'm kind of repeating because I didn't really read through all of them. So be present and listen, really listen to what others are saying and not saying to you, right? What are they saying? What are they not saying? Healthy relationships are healthy because both sides respect each other enough to listen to what the other party is saying, not listening to respond. Hey, we all do that, right? It's like, yeah, I just want to make my point. But the balance is listening and speaking and pausing and digesting and integrating what the other person is saying and not saying, right? So that's a huge part of being in healthy relationships, right? Yeah. Taking a moment. What are they saying? What are they not saying? Do I even need to say something? Do I need to respond other than I hear you? Right. So sometimes being present and really hearing people is what they need, right? Sometimes people just need a sounding board just to get it off their chest, to get it out there, to get it out and let it go. All right. The next one is ask and reflect upon your current relationships. Does my energy increase or decrease when I interact with others? Do I feel respected and held in a loving space? Or do I feel unworthy and insignificant? If your answer is the latter, you then know what you must do for yourself. You know what to do then, right? And sometimes there are certain situations where we need to learn how to live with it. It's like, I've got to live with this situation right now. I'm not going to change this. I'm not going to change this relative or this right neighbor or whatever, right? So learn how to live with it, right? That's what we got to do sometimes. But being mindful of like, is this healthy and supporting me at this time, or is this not? What do I need to do? Sometimes there isn't an opportunity right away to change things or to shift things. Sometimes it's best for us to wait a little bit. Okay, the next one is observe from a neutral space, whether you are or are not or aren't in an equal energetic exchange with your relationships. Like, okay, are we in equal exchange of energy? Am I honoring this relationship, or am I taking more than what I'm receiving? And yes, we take times where we take turns, right? So I'm there for you, you're there for me. But sometimes, we need to check ourselves for a moment to reflect upon these relationships. Ask yourself, am I taking more than I share, or are they taking more than what are they hearing me, right? That's a big one. And then the last one I have is, if you must interact with others who tend to be negative, be proactive with your spiritual cleansing practices. Sage and clear when necessary, cut those cords as needed, and spend lots of time clearing your auric field as is needed, right? So sometimes it just is what it is, and we got to learn to live with that, right? For the current situation, it's not time for me to change it. This is where things are. I'm going to make the most of it, and I'm going to be wise and smart with my spiritual hygiene and my physical hygiene and all of the things, right? And so if there are certain crystals as jewelry I want to wear, or maybe I need to take a moment to regroup in between or after and shift the energy with a high energy situation, just be mindful of that. Yeah. And so relationships are mirrors, and these mirrors show us where we are at, where we were, or where we are going, right? So relationships, they show us different things about ourselves. Who I could be, that could be me, right? Or, oh, that's where I'm heading, so I'm going to dial it back a little bit. I'm going to rethink things, right? Or it could be who you were, who you are, or where you're going, or potential, right? And so that's something to really reflect upon. Healthy and supportive relationships are invaluable and are often lifesavers, right? So may we be the loving, giving, joy-filled, and loyal people we wish to attract in our lives. And I know a lot of times people say, well, why am I attracting this? Is that really where I'm at? Not necessarily. It could be that your soul wants to be challenged with certain relationships and learn how to navigate those troubled waters, those rocky waters, right? So that could be why that's happening too. Just checking in with some of my comments here. So hello, Kathy from Deerfield Beach. Hello, hello, hello. So I'm going to pause a moment to see if anybody has any questions and our comments. And I do have 3 cards that I'll be pulling. And then I'm going to, but before that, I'm going to talk a little bit as I wait for comments of different things to do tonight with this full moon and or any full moon. So you can take your crystals out when the sun goes down and put them out in the moonlight, whether you can see the moon or not. Let the full moon charge your crystals with that energy, with that wonderful, delicious, mystical energy. And then make sure you bring them in before the sun comes up. So the sun will have an impact on your crystals. We want to charge the moon with these energies. The full moon is also an excellent time of releasing and asking for completion, right? With the the heightened energy of the full moon influences, we are saying, okay, I'm complete with a few areas. I would like to be complete with a few areas. So I'm going to maybe write down the things I would like to be complete with, and then I'm releasing. I release negative self-talk. I release doubt. I release unhealthy foods and habits. I release repeating myself. I release unhealthy spending. I release my negative attitude towards my money, right? I am also asking for completion with certain karmic cycles for myself. So these are things you can write down. If you can get outside, it does help with your ambiance and the connection to that moon. I am one who will stop everything for a moment and just look at that moon, right? I will stop and soak in her energies. So take a moment to do that, and then asking spirit to help you with releasing energy, right? It's also a good time to do different things. It's a good time with the different cycles of the moon, full moon, to get rid of some of that clutter. Some people go around their home and they really give it a good smudging or clearing, maybe with Florida water or Palo Santo or sage or different herbal mixture, and sweep out the energy and clear the energy, preparing for the new moon and the new cycle of things, right? So that's a good time to do that. Also, cord cuttings, cutting the emotional cords of energy to people, places, and things that you know are not supporting you at this time in your life. Yeah, can most certainly help with all of that. Let's see, what else? Maybe journaling, going into a meditation, and getting your selenite, holding on to selenite, connecting with the energies of the moon, and going into a meditation and connecting to your higher self and your spirit council. Yeah, that's an excellent activity as well. All right, let's see. I don't see any more comments popping up here yet. So I am working with the Psychic Tarot for the Heart deck by John Holland today. So I'm going to pull 3 cards, and this is your message for this full moon. So I'm going to pull 3, 1, 2, and 3. And so I'll hold them up and feel into the energy of the card. And this message is, this is what you need during this full moon cycle with your relationships, with all your relationships, to help you be in equal exchange of energy with your relationships. Okay, here we go. So we've got card number 1, card number 2, and card number 3. So which card is calling to you? Which one's calling to you? 1, 2, or 3? Okay. And so I'm not going to look at the book. This is the first time. I think I might have pulled these cards once before, just after I purchased them years ago. Like, what year was this deck made? Hang tight, friends. So let's see. This deck was published in, well, I'll tell you one thing. It was published when it was 1995, and now it's $24.99. That's a sign. Okay, so let me just look at the front. I'm just curious how long I have been carrying this deck. 2014. So this deck is 8 years old, right? 8 years old. Wow. So this is really the first time that I'm working with it. Okay. So this is an example of how you can pretty much work with any deck. So if you trust your intuition, if you're in that space of asking for guidance. So there is the guidebook, but whenever you're learning how to read cards, whether it's tarot or oracle cards, I invite you to go into the energy of the card and the message in your higher self channel before you look at the book. Okay, so this first card is trust. It's number 0. It's the 0 card. So this might be the equivalent to the Fool. So taking that leap of faith. And so the message for you during this full moon cycle is to trust. To trust, I'm going to say, yourself, with your intuition, with your relationships. If you're feeling something's off, it's off. If you're feeling like there's another opportunity for a career or a move or a home, trust in that feeling. You've got to learn how to trust your own internal GPS. There's something there that is knocking at the door, right? Your intuition is saying, excuse me, I'm trying to relay this message to you. So if you chose number one, this is the time for you to maybe take that leap of faith. Make sure all your bases are covered first, right? Before you make that leap. But this is the time to trust in yourself and your intuition and the signs that you're receiving, the feelings and the intuitive nudges and pulls that you're feeling at this time. So trust is for number one. Card number two is the darkest fears. Darkest fears. So if you look at the image on this card, you see that this has to do with mind. So the mind, your thoughts, the negative ego is projecting and what you fear the most. It's what you're empowering. So you are being shown where your glitches in your manifestation processes are. So this is what this card is saying. This is my interpretation, or this is Spirit's interpretation for the group here. So you're being shown where there is a problem, I don't want to say faulty process, but in a way it's a faulty manifestation process of where you're getting hung up. Your thoughts, your belief systems, you're projecting them. You are self-prophesizing what's happening, self-fulfilling destiny through your thoughts. So your deepest fears are coming up and they're being shown to you, okay? And so this might take a little bit of rewiring your words, your thoughts, and your processes at this time. Okay. So you're being shown this because these fears, worries, or concerns are coming up because they're ready to be moved out. There's a completion that's trying to take place here for you at this time. And then the third card is confront. So this looks like the shadow side of us. Look, there's the moon. And so it's number 18. The other one was 9. So this is interesting. So I'm going to back it up a second while this is popping up. So these are 9s, and 9s in numerology are about the self, me, myself, and I, right? So 18 is 8 plus 1 is 9. So it has to do with my journey. And so in order for me to complete this cycle, this experience, it means that I need to do this for myself and to focus on where I'm at. Like, I'll do it by myself. You worry about yourself, like the little girl with the seatbelt. You go drive. Don't worry about me. I got this, right? So this is saying this for all of us. So this is saying number 9, number 18, which is 18. Confront these fears. It's a piggyback on number 2. But what's going on here? What shadow work is coming up for me to shift? What is illusion and what is real, right? The mind will make a truth, create your personal truths based upon what you believe and where you channel your energy. So it's time to take a look at some of these things and cut the cords to them, nip them in the bud, and shift that energy. And especially with this moon. So what are you ready to release? To maybe look at some things that maybe you have some regret. Maybe you feel that, I could have done better. This is time for me to really address this and to be done with it, because it's kind of lurking back here, the guilt, the shame, all of that. And now is the time for me to bring light to some of these situations. And I just did a TikTok the other day on snowflake obsidian. Snowflake obsidian crystal helps us with alchemizing our regrets, and it brings light and healing to the mistakes that we have made, we think we have made, right? And maybe we could have done better, and maybe we had a moment, but this helps us complete that cycle and move forward, right? How many times have we held ourselves back because of guilt and shame, right? So that card is most certainly saying that for us at this time. I'm going to check in some of the comments, and Jen says, I picked 2, spot on. And you're welcome. You're welcome, Jen. Thank you. So those are the messages from the deck, it's the Psychic Tarot for the heart. Okay, so I hope that there's a little something that went bing, aha, I'm going to sit with that a little bit later. And I hope that you enjoyed this little get together online. And I look forward to connecting with all of you soon, sending light and healing. And I know I will see all of you and I have seen a lot of you in the astral realms and in the astral lounge and 8 p.m. Eastern. connecting for healing and supporting all those who are challenged across the globe. Alrighty, my friends. I'm going to give the comments just a moment, and then I'm going to hop off and go manage things with Miss Amy out front. Miss Amy. You're welcome, Jen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Alrighty, everybody. So, put my cards here. May you all have a beautiful and blessed week. Don't forget to connect, whether tonight or tomorrow, with the energies of this full moon. All right. Thank you so much. Thank you. Love and peace, everybody. Namaste. Thank you, everybody. Be well. Bye-bye.